Hello, everyone. I have Dr. Kenyon Godwin on the show today. He's Doctor of Chiropractic, founder CEO of Active Family Wellness Center in Arlington, Texas. He served in the U.S. Air Force, got his bachelor's degree from Wayland Baptist University, and doctorate in chiropractic from Parker University. He's a former chairman of Greater Arlington Chamber of Commerce, and he specializes in family chiropractic care, prenatal and pediatric chiropractic, sports and injury rehab, functional fitness and wellness coaching, and leadership development. And Dr. Godwin has been recognized as Arlington All-Stars favorite chiropractic for 10 consecutive years from 2014 to 2024. And I would like to welcome on the show today. Welcome to the show, Dr. G. How you doing today?
Doing well. Thank you. Thank you for, man, listening to your introduction. I'm like, wow, you know,
Well, it is pretty impressive. I would love to actually ask you a few questions regarding how you got into chiropractic and transition from Air Force to chiropractic specialty.
so for me, I was in the Air Force. I was a lab tech at the year. That was lab tech in the Air Force. And during that time, I had committed the decision to get out of the Air Force and become a doctor of chiropractic. So I basically, by faith, separated from the Air Force after 8 years, moved down to Dallas, Texas, to Arlington, Texas, but to attend Parker in Dallas with no family here, nothing. It was really a shot in the dark, a blind step. I established my family and then just went from there. And we decided to stay here, open our practice, and we raised our kids here. We've been here ever since. So that was 2007 that we moved here.
Okay, so that's quite a journey. And then, are you originally from Dallas?
I'm not. So I'm originally from Virginia. I left Virginia at 17 years old to go into the United States Air Force. And from there, moved around a little bit. My last duty station was Alaska. So I moved from Alaska to Texas.
Oh, you travel quite a bit. Interesting. Okay, very good. And then, why chiropractic? Is that something you had experience with in the past? And how did you even learn about chiropractic, being in the Air Force? I'm just curious about that journey.
It's a funny story. I'm atypical. I call myself a unicorn in almost every way. So most chiropractors did experience chiropractic care or had family members that were chiropractors. That is not my story. I wanted to become a doctor for one reason, and that was because at the age of 12, my mother had suffered a heart attack. And being a single mom, having a very low wage job, she could not afford the health care she needed. So at 12, I decided in my mind that I was going to become a doctor. Since no one else wanted to figure out and help her, I was going to figure out a way to help her and people like that. Once I went into the Air Force, I loved healthcare. I loved helping people. As I began to take classes, it became very clear to me that I did not want to do surgery, deliver babies. And the way I grew up, we just grew up more of home remedies and natural remedies. So I wasn't a big fan of prescribing medication. My anatomy instructor was a chiropractor, and he taught us the body for class, just using stories out of his office. I was new to understanding chiropractic from that standpoint, but it intrigued me so much that I decided to pursue it for myself without ever going into his office or anyone's office. And I just prayed about it and decided that's what I was going to do.
Wow, it's inspiring, really cool. So you finished, you got your doctorate, right, in chiropractic. And did you work at a clinic first, or you went in and started treating patients in your own clinic? What was that journey like?
Yes. So I graduated Parker August 14th. So coming up here soon, August 14th, 2010. And from that point, I just immediately opened my own small office, like 500 square feet small, and started taking care of people, learning the journey. And it's pretty much been that way ever since.
Right, and that was Active Family Wellness Center, right? That's the original name.
Well, the original name, no. So the original name was actually Modus Vivendi Chiropractic. It was cool to me at the time when I was in school. I loved the name. It's Latin for lifestyle, way of life. And I wanted people to have chiropractic as a way of life. So I named it that. And about 8 months in, I realized no one knew what that meant. I had to keep explaining it. So just from a marketing standpoint, it was just difficult. So I went on and did a DBA. So we do business as Active Family Wellness Center, but it's still the original name. It's still the original name on paper. And before Active Family Wellness Center, we actually did a DBA as Godwin Chiropractic and Wellness Center. So those that have been around for a while know we've had a couple name changes, but the culture and ethos of who we are remains intact.
Okay, thank you for clarifying that. And I think it's an important lesson for entrepreneurs looking to start a business, considering a name, right? I mean, it might sound cool, but it has to be easily remembered, when people are searching for a clinic. I think it's an important factor, so I think it is.
And if you don't mind, I'll add this business part because I learned this. I'm all about learning continually, personal and professional development. The reason I changed the name the second time from Godwin Chiropractic and Wellness Center is I realized that it's important to have a name that doesn't just state who I am and what I do, because it's hard to hire people and especially doctors to come work for you if your name is the only one on the business, it's the only one on the door. So having a name that we all can vibe around, like this is who we are and what we do. That's why it's that simple. We keep Active Families Well. That's a easier buy-in than Godwin Chiropractic and Wellness Center. You know,
Yeah, yeah. Thank you for clarifying that as well, because I see this all the time. People are starting a clinic, and they thinking, "Oh, I'm just gonna have my own clinic. I'm just gonna work there," and then I realize, it's actually takes off, and then they have plenty of patients at a point where they can't even staff all the patients themselves, meaning they can't treat all the patients on their own. They need to hire people, and you're right, it becomes a problem. If people don't often want to work for a clinic named after somebody else, right? Instead of having a larger purpose, so to speak, right? Not just connected to the name. Great lesson here. Appreciate. So, can you take us to the first year of your journey starting a clinic? Were you working a couple of days a week? Did you have to pick up some side gigs to kind of, to make extra money? Or what was your plan like when you were starting a clinic? And what was it option?
and my plan was to do awesome and to just help as many people possible. But one of my favorite philosophers, modern day philosophers, is Mike Tyson, and he says everyone has a plan until they get punched in the mouth. So
Right.
it was it was rough that first year. Matter of fact, the first year I did everything. I answered phones. I took out the trash. I was the office in every aspect of the way, and it was a slow building and growing. I did. I did two things, not really regularly, but I did two things to help from a income standpoint for myself, and that was every now and then for the school, I would go and do like some job fairs, health fairs for Parker, represent them at different universities to try to help recruit students, especially minority students, into chiropractic. And then I started doing physicals for truck drivers, like half a day every week. But for the first couple of years of having the business, I didn't pay myself. I was just putting all the money back into the business and practice to keep it alive and to keep it growing. And it takes discipline. It's hard. It's tough. But when you look at what you're doing as a serious investment, I can literally say I put my all into this. Then I can walk away with no regrets, regardless of what the outcomes are, because I'm doing my best. So I think you have to get clarity on how far you're willing to go and how much you're willing to risk to be an entrepreneur. But the greater the risk, the greater the reward. Where there's little to no risk, there's little to no reward.
Absolutely. Great point. And thank you for taking us through this uh, journey, so to speak. So, another question for you. You mentioned truck drivers. So I'm actually familiar with a lot of chiropractors. They do in physicals required by the job. So, how did you get to that? Is that a referral source you had to set up? Was it like cold outreach? Was that like an organization that you reached out to? What was it like to set up that relationship?
That particular relationship, it was actually a colleague of mine that was doing that. And they said, "Hey man, they need help. They need more people. Are you willing to do this?" And so it was easier for me. I just applied and reached out to them, and they were excited to have me there. And I just showed up and did that. So it was at that particular company. So it wasn't like they were sending people to me. I actually had to show up to this truck driving company once a week with a badge and scan in and walk through. They had a station already set up, which is pretty efficient.
Okay. Okay. Very good. And then how many days a week did you start with in the first 3 months from opening? Was it twice a week or was it once a week? What was it like?
No. So when I first started, I was actually there every day, like Monday through Friday. Most of the times hoping someone was going to call or come in. When you start a business and you put everything you have in it, you look for every opportunity possible. So even if I didn't have someone on the schedule, which were many days, I had no one on the schedule. I was out networking, walking around, introducing myself, and then I would go back to the office, check the voicemail, wait for the phone to ring, see what I could do to increase traffic in business. So I didn't take days off. I worked hard and did all I could think of. This was the days before. It's hard to explain because today things are different. But for people who don't have a reference point, this is when the internet wasn't what it is today. Social media didn't exist in that way. So I didn't have those tools that are really available today to just do a live or a story or just, post about my business. I had to actually walk and meet people and build relationships. They were still a phone book, right? So I had to actually make sure that I was putting myself in front of people to get them in the office.
So when we talk about marketing, would you say the marketing that you did was going door to door, meeting people, other providers, and people within the community, or you had actual paid marketing as well in the beginning?
No, it was what you said the first time. I didn't have any paid marketing. As a matter of fact, people often ask me, what would I change? And the biggest thing I would change would have been doing marketing. I was so obsessed with getting the office opened, and it's such a process that I didn't do as much marketing because all my time and energy went towards the deadlines, and we were behind a month for when I thought I was going to be able to open. So now I'm like, man, rent's going to be due soon, and I haven't even opened yet. And so it was just all those things. So marketing was very much grassroots, um, beating the streets, talking to people and working, but not in a paid way. Again, there was no Google ads. There was none of that back then.
Got it. Okay, thank you. And then after the first year, were you able to fill the days to capacity, or how many years did it take? In other words, how many days did it take before it became a full-time, 5 days a week operational clinic?
I'll say probably between 18 months to 2 years. It really started taking off in the way that my capacity was good, It wasn't full, but it was good. And then we were able to, by our third year, in our third year, we were able to move from that small office to a larger office. And things just really took off then. There's something about space, right? Where there's space and there's a way, it makes it easier to fill that space and to do more for people to feel comfortable. So I'll say between 18 months and two years is really when things got it moving along pretty good. So that's why I said it's an investment, man. If you're going to do any type of business, that whole idea of immediate gratification, of quick fixes and quick solutions, or overnight success. They say overnight success usually takes about 10 years. So it's a process. You got to be in it for the right reason and be in it for the long haul.
Yeah, yeah, I agree. I agree. And when you said space, what about location? Did you feel like location matters? Did you have a better location on the second kind of run versus the first one? Was it like storefront, or what type of location was it?
So, it's pros and cons. I had a better location traffic wise.
In the
And
first,
so in the second one, and I'm gonna explain it. So the first one, I was on a busier street. I was on like the busiest street in my city. And so you would think that was always a positive or a plus because of the traffic. However, it also created so many traffic jams that many people would cancel their appointments because they couldn't make it. They're like, I'm not going to make it in time. Traffic is bad. So it became a hindrance in that way. And secondly, because at that time, our office was on the back side of the building on the second floor, and there was no sign. So if you didn't know I was there, you didn't know I was there. So it wasn't an advantage to me to be on such a busy street like that when no one knew I was up there. Versus the second location was a very busy street as well, but it didn't get congested as much. But we had a sign and we had a kind of more of a storefront in a medical plaza. So they both had their advantages, but overall, I believe the second location was definitely a better fit for us at that time.
Got it. So it's interesting because I'm a big believer in the right location when you're starting out. From my personal experience, when we wanted to add a second location, which was literally 20 minutes away from our initial location, and I'm referring to a physical therapy clinic. Uh, it wasn't on the main street, and the foot traffic wasn't there. It was harder for people to know we're there. It is easier these days now to have, when you have Google, right? You have social media, right? You can still spread the word, but it makes a huge difference if you rely heavily on foot traffic. And some clinics still do. And I still, major cities like New York City, foot traffic is, could be up to 25 or sometimes more percent of your volume, right? Or your initial kind of referrals. So for those listening, I think having the right location, even if it's more expensive, is extremely important. And some people just settle for a cheaper location, kind of less busiest street, and I think it plays a factor. So thank you for kind of clarifying that and letting us know about your experience with two different locations, because it's an interesting point you made. Like it's a busy street, but you're right. Parking is an issue, and like sometimes it takes you 10 minutes just to drive one block. It will definitely make people cancel more frequently. And then when did you make your first hire? Like, what is it? The first year? Is it the second year? Let's start with the front office staff or your assistant. If there was any.
My first hire was probably in, let's see, I opened the doors October 7th of 2010. And my first hire was close to the end of 2011. And I had a colleague just come in and help me out at first because we started growing. Then that transitioned to not a real hire, but I had a intern for about 4 months. And then I went on and hired someone. I didn't want to keep having interns in and out, but you do what you have to do in the beginning. But I wanted someone that was committed, that was there, that I could train and groom and do it once versus every 4 months having to start over, because that affects your overhead, your expenses. And I know it sounds silly to say that because you're not paying them, but if you guys stop and take time to teach them the job and they make mistakes and they don't know what they're doing or are not confident, that hurts you as far as your business and your revenue.
I agree. I mean, any turnover is costly because it's your time, the mistakes they make, right? Because you need to train them because there's loss of patience due to mistakes that they make, especially when you're starting out. So you're right. Even if you're not paying them, I agree. It still could have a high cost to it. And then tell me about your clinic today. How many square feet you have? Is it still that second location, or you moved again during these years?
We did move. So like yourself, we had for 5 years, we had two locations. So we had opened a second location, this location that I'm in right now. And it's next month will be 6 months 6 years that we've been in this location. It's a 2,500 square foot office. However, last year we closed that other location that we were at for 10 years and just merged everybody here. Like what you mentioned earlier, they were about 20 minutes apart. So with the economy, with everything that's changed, the demographic of the area of that office had changed. It just made more sense, instead of us going back and forth between the two places, to just hunker down at one. This was the more ideal location for many reasons. So that's the decision that we made. It was never my intention to go back and forth between the two offices. I want to state that for the record. However, we had this little thing happen called the pandemic, and it changed, everything. It changed our plans. So this office literally opened right before the pandemic, and I had about 5 months here before the pandemic hit, and so it just altered things. And so we just, say, all right, this is what we wanted to do, but this is what we can do, and then we're just going to move forward with that model and being able to be adaptable and adjust, no pun intended, to the circumstances.
Absolutely. Adapting to circumstances is something entrepreneurs need to be always kind of ready for, especially COVID, change a lot of people's plans. A lot of businesses closed down, and, sometimes downsizing, that's the only way to stay afloat. so to speak. And then what is it like now? How many staff members you have, and what services you offer?
So 4 team members, actually been doing interviews today to hire another associate doctor. So right now I'm the only doctor, but we're looking for another doctor to come join the team. The services we offer chiropractic care, always our number one, all ages. I adjusted a newborn today, so pregnant, newborn, all the way to our oldest person is 95 years old, which is pretty amazing. We offer spinal decompression for people that have sciatica or numbness and tingling in their arms or hands from neck, pinched nerve in their neck. We also offer functional medicine or holistic solutions for people that have metabolic and gut issues. And then we have shockwave to help people with regeneration and healing of certain tissues and joints that they may have going on. Oh, and corporate wellness. So we offer corporate wellness programs to help organizations with their, not just their wellness, but their leadership so that they have better retention, they have reduced absenteeism, increased productivity amongst their workforce, and just a better camaraderie and morale because healthier workforce, happier workforce makes a big difference.
So that's an interesting one. And is that something like a membership where you have them come to your office, or how does that work? Or the corporation purchases a package for the employees, or they just pay monthly?
Yeah, so corporations purchase packages, and some of these packages are different. They're not always including chiropractic care. Some people choose to say, hey, we're not going to cover the chiropractic care, but if you can offer our employees a discount, or since it's a volume size, but there's education is a big part of that. So that's a program that we just kind of, we'll say, remodeled to roll out on a grander scale than the way we were doing it. So it's really excited about it and the changes it's going to make for, a lot of workplaces and organizations in the area and anywhere actually.
Okay. All right. Very, very cool. And then in terms of marketing, right? Doing door to door marketing, do you do any type of marketing now, or it's all word of mouth?
No, we have three legs of marketing in our office. We have internal, uh, people that are already here. We have things around the office, things on our television screens. And then we have, and plus our newsletter and things of that nature. We do external, where we go out, we meet people in the community, we go to events, we go to vendor fairs, health fairs, and then we have digital. In this day and age, you got to have a big digital imprint. So we utilize marketing still. It's important. And matter of fact, that's something that we are discussing next week is our new marketing plan, and how to make sure that we're being effective in all three of those areas. So we still do marketing. You can't stop marketing.
Absolutely. What about provider relations, right? Working with massage therapists, physical therapists, for instance, and primary care doctors. That's something I also do.
Yeah, to the best of my ability, just like any other relationship, it takes two, right? So I reached out and engaged many different people. Some people are more willing and open than others. I do my best to not focus on any negativity or anyone who doesn't want to collaborate. I just focus on those who do. At the end of the day, I feel like if your values are similar than ours, regardless of what your specialty is, if our goal is to have a healthier community and help people get the best results, then we're willing to work together to accomplish that. If not, it's no other discussion for me. So I have a better relationship with birth workers than anyone else. Sometimes working with other doctors can be interesting. The funny thing is, but we have a lot of doctors that are patients here that are not chiropractors. I'm talking medical doctors, psychologists, psychiatrists. We have a lot of different folks in here, but sometimes it takes a little bit more effort trying to get on the same page with other providers on the value that we all can contribute without feeling selfish or arrogant about what we do.
Yeah, no, and it makes sense because that's a common topic of discussion, right, for clinicians, especially in therapy world. Um, is do you market to doctors? Do you not market to doctors? And a lot of clinics are very successful working strictly doctors relationships, right? And some clinics are totally against it because of the ego and just how hard it is to get to medical doctors, right? To kind of relay the messages, so to speak. And then a lot of people that I talk to, they found that talking to colleagues, right? Maybe another chiropractor doesn't specialize working with newborns, for instance, right, could be very effective. Is that something you see as well? Other chiropractors referring patients and vice versa, or that's not something you see in your practice?
Oh no, I definitely see that. So we have colleagues that send us people for a lot of different reasons. Sometimes it's something they don't do. Sometimes it's, hey, this person actually is closer to you. Or sometimes it's just as simple as, hey, I think they'll get better results in your office. And that goes both ways. So we send people out. We'll say, hey, I have folks that when we moved, for example, when we consolidated, I'll say, we consolidated this office. We had people that were like, this is going to be a 45-minute drive for them. And some of them still come, but some of them were like, hey, I can't make that. I'm like, I understand. So let me find a colleague that I trust personally that to take care of you. And I'll give you their information and I'll share with them whatever you give me permission to share so that you can continue to get in chiropractic care. The goal is to have a thriving community, whether it's me or whether it's someone else's office. The goal is still the goal. How can we help our community? We got to take the spotlight off of ourselves and what we want out of things. And the oath you take is to serve others. So that's the goal.
I love it. Absolutely. I agree with you. There's a goal is to get patients better, and you could get it better, great. If somebody else could get it better, and you had some kind of you put effort into getting that patient there. That's amazing. So in terms of marketing, do you track these marketing efforts? And if so, what do you use to track those?
I do track them, probably not to the best of what I could, but I do track them. So we have a spreadsheet. I have a spreadsheet that I have for marketing. And if we're running campaigns, things of that nature, we record what the results are. Every person that comes in, we ask them how they heard about us. And so we're able to tell, and we have in our EHR, we can click a button to whether it's a referral, we can actually say who was the referral, whether it was a magazine, the local Arlington Today magazine, or if it was on social media, or if it's just a Google, they found us on Google, which has become more of the top of the list. Before Google was at the bottom, I rarely got people from Google, but now word of mouth and Google are our top two sources for attracting new people.
So word of mouth and Google. Okay, great. That's where so word of mouth makes sense. So it's spreading the word. And Google, when you see that Google is performing well, do you try to put more resources towards Google marketing? And is it paid ads you're doing, or are you doing more things like backlinks, like organic type of stuff, articles, or just strictly paid advertisement?
Believe it or not, I actually don't do a lot of paid advertisement. Very little. They just find us organically in the search. We just, on the front page at the top. So a lot of people just find us when they type in chiropractor with wherever they are, chiropractor Arlington. But I don't do a lot as far as spending with Google. It's very minimal. So I am looking at some different options of things you mentioned, but I actually haven't had to invest a whole lot in that.
Okay. Okay. Thank you for clarifying that. And then, um, so Google reviews, I think, is a big driver for a lot of clinics, right? Having patients leave reviews and then other patients finding providers based on the reviews. Do you ask your patients to leave reviews, or is something you guys, is a common practice in your clinic? Do you have like a QR code, or, you don't ask your patients to leave reviews?
Oh, we do. We ask them several ways, several times. So um, they do. A lot of them do, as well as they get a text message after certain visits that will have a link and ask them to leave a review as well. It makes it easier.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, great. And so how do you balance business growth, delivering exceptional patient care?
Well, it's intentionality. I first balance business growth by personal growth. If you work on you, everything that you're connected to will get better. You want to grow your business, you got to first start by growing yourself. You have to grow in order for your business to grow. So that's always been my focus. I focus on me. I'm a ever evolving and transforming individual. I do the best I can. I continually learn. And then I bring that back to my team. I teach them, I share the same concepts and things I'm learning. I'm not gatekeeping the information so that I'm the most knowledgeable or the most enlightened person here. I want to empower each one of them. And then as we get better as people, we see the practices, we see the differences, and we just work towards operational excellence as a team, as a unit. and we give each other feedback. We figure out what's working, what we can do better. We're constantly evolving and asking ourselves every week during our meeting, what can we improve? What's one thing we're going to focus on that, may be hindering us from hitting the mark that we are satisfied or our expectation. So I balance business growth and those things by working on myself first, training and developing my team, and then ensuring that we have the practices in place to give the best care possible.
Okay, great. That's definitely uh strong factors. And then reporting, right? Any business, their KPIs. Do you run reports on a weekly, daily, or monthly basis? And if so, which reports do you run?
So we look at we have a dashboard. It's actually here on the wall. Um, so we look at that daily, and then we have when we have our weekly meeting, we go over things weekly, as well as at the beginning of the month, we'll go over how we did overall for the last month. And so we just look at a few key factors that tells us how we're doing. Obviously, not everything is tangible and broken down just into numbers or revenue, but those numbers are easy to measure, and they do give you a picture or insight about your operations.
Can you give us some of those reports that you guys track on a weekly basis?
So obviously, we track our weekly revenue. We also track how many new people we have. So we don't call our practice members patients. We call them practice members. So we look at how many new practice members we have for that week, for that month, and then we look at what our conversion rate is. How many of them that came in that were new um, signed on to partner with us with helping them reach their goals. So those are some examples that we have of key performance indicators.
Okay, thank you. And then do you accept any insurances?
We do. We accept a few.
Uh-huh. And then would you say is it like 50-50 or like 90-10, where majority of patients cash based and then 10% insurance based, or what does it look like with the
Probably more of like a third. Insurance is probably 30 to 40% of our practice right now. This health insurance as a whole is a challenge for our country. It's a horrible system. So I'm not bashing the people, but it's just a horrible system, and it needs to be rethought and started over or something, because it's bad for the doctors, it's bad for the practice members. It's just a bad system.
I mean, I couldn't agree more. Just a lot of times you can't survive without them, right? You can't live with them. You can't live without them. Depending on on the location, there are plenty of successful clinic owners that don't accept insurance and do great. Maybe in higher, like in a more influential neighborhoods, like in Beverly Hills or like Manhattan. I see practices successfully operating clinics, not accepting any insurances, and then a lot of places in America, you can't not accept insurance, right? Otherwise, you're going to be out of business, and no matter how terrible they are, so that's some.
It's also the mentality. That's a big shift of where we are today. People have been misled to believe that their insurance covers everything that's important to them. And I understand the standpoint of a lot of people pay a lot a month for their insurance. They see this huge amount come out of their paycheck, which has an impact on their cost of living. And so now they want to do services that are covered. But the danger is, if you allow insurance to dictate what you do and what care you get, then you're going to always be limited within a box of the results and the outcomes and the quality of care you can get, because you're going by those guidelines. And people have to remember, insurance companies don't know you personally. They don't know your name. They don't know your case history. They don't know anything. You're just subscribed, which is why you have a subscriber ID. You're just subscribed to a plan that was picked without you in mind. And this is the lines of what you can do and what you can't do. And so when we get to a place where we realize, for me to get the best care, it's up to me and it's my responsibility, not my insurance's responsibility, we're going to continue to see this battle.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, you're right. I always see this, and it's sometimes harder in certain communities to explain this to patients for them to understand. Some people just cannot afford it, right? Especially Medicaid-based population. If you have any of these, I mean, it's almost impossible to get those people to pay. And then I do see clinic owners that are successfully charging people, even that have Medicaid for certain services by explaining the benefits of the services they're getting through private pay versus insurance paid or what they're not getting. Uh, and then I want to get to like I have the last couple of questions left here for those clinicians that are looking to start a clinic, right? So what advice would you give them to start a clinic, and what would you do different if you were starting your own clinic, now?
So advice, I would say, number one, make sure you have a strong relationship with God. You're going to need it. Uh, and second is work more on you, knowing who you are, what you really like to do, what's really important to you, what your purpose is, what your values are. We like to get started with all this other stuff and then try to figure all that out later. And when it doesn't match, we have a problem. So do the hard work first up front, which is work on yourself, work on your business model and what you want. Don't let someone else tell you what you can or can't do or what's not ideal. If it's something that you believe in and it aligns with you, then go for it, period. What I would do differently as far as starting over, again, some of the things that I developed and learned now, 15 years in, I would have put in place in the beginning as far as marketing strategies, campaign, the work I just described. I would have done more work on myself and who I really wanted to serve. And some of those things you don't know when you're new, right? You don't know until you start doing it, as well as just shedding limitations easier. I came out of school. When you come out of school, school prepares you for being safe to practice. But inside of that safety that you have to practice can be a lot of limitations of what's possible. And you can become more fear based in your practice and your goals because of what others may have inadvertently passed down to you and far in the form of professors and things and their limitations. So being able to shed those limitations earlier and just go for what was in my heart and be the person that I believed that I was and could do. That's what I would do again.
All right. Thank you for sharing this. Uh, and then what do you think about mentorship? How important is mentorship when you're planning to start a clinic or you just started a clinic? Is that something you feel important to you and that's something you've had or that's not important?
I think it's probably one of the most important aspects, not just for starting an office, but any business that you're in. I believe mentorship should be up at the top. I don't care what stage you're in, whether you're a starter or you're 85 years in business, it's still important. There's still more that you can learn. Someone else can always see your blind spots. You can't see them. So I think mentorship is of the utmost importance. And I still have mentors and coaches. So, and each level, you're not going to have the same person forever, but you're going to need people in each season. And I started my practice off, that was great because I learned what I needed in a mentoring coach and what didn't work for me because I had a few that, it was not good, right? But through those experiences, nothing happens to me, everything happens for me. Through those experiences, I was able to learn more about me and what I needed. So definitely get you a mentor or a coach so that you can be at your best. LeBron James has a coach, Jordan had a coach, Kobe had a coach, Tiger Woods has coaches. Everyone has coaches. So you're not immune if you want to be the greatest, be the best.
Love it. Yeah, definitely. Couldn't agree more. Uh, Thank you so much for your time today, Dr. Godwin. Wish you all the best to your practice and success. All right. Hope to touch base with you maybe in a couple of years to see where you are. Maybe continue this conversation.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Thank you.